Good evening. This is Maestro Cortello with the Dawn of War 2 Retribution Elite Modcast. Today we have a 1v1 on Outer Reaches, and our first player today is Mathis, playing as the Grey Knight Bro Captain. The Bro Captain is a tanky melee hero, walks around in Terminator armor and starts out with a big force sword. Don't use him so much as a melee counter. I've definitely been, both from playing against him and playing as him a few times for some reason, that at least in his default form, he's not really much of a melee counter. But he's still tanky, can tie things up and soak up damage. His opponent is Adila, playing as a Blood Raven's Force Commander. The Force Commander is also a tanky melee hero, not as tanky, or maybe even more tanky if you actually get the Iron Halo. He has a variety of weapon upgrades for different purposes. A great hero overall, very powerful. Alright, so we've got yet another Force Commander versus Brother Captain matchup. How often does this happen? Apparently it's just happened every day now, every day. Well, not really, but anyway. Strike Squad right here, I don't think they're in very well positioned to win this engagement. They're going to be taking range fire from these tacks while chasing after scouts, although it does make more... yeah, I think it makes more sense for them to chase off the scouts, and they could also potentially get a model off the scouts, although they didn't in that particular engagement. At this point, they will... I feel like they should still win against the attacks in melee because they'll probably get a special attack, hopefully, because if they don't, otherwise they will lose, and otherwise the Force Commander will activate Battlecry, and he will get special attacks off guaranteed. But meanwhile, attacks actually get out of there, and so do the strikes, and so far we've just had an engagement where nobody has lost a model. Maybe a model will be lost over here, so nobody has suffered any economic damage, and that's scouts get out of there without losing a model either, and that's part of what can sometimes happen in these power armor mirrors, especially, well, maybe not as much Space Marines versus Grey Knights, but certainly Space Marines versus Space Marines definitely has a way of very few models getting killed. So that has a lot of implications. First of all, you don't see... Generally, you won't have as many leveled units in these power armor mirrors because just not as... They won't get as much experience, so... there won't be as many leveled units, and they won't be getting stronger that way. It also means the players won't be suffering as much economic damage, so they probably won't get held back in tech as much, and we'll probably see both players get to Tier 3 and do stuff in Tier 3. But anyway, we see Mathis going for a double Strike Squad build. I feel like I haven't seen that in a while. I feel like I haven't seen that since the ability on the Strike Squad could be used to instantly wipe a full health squad of Kadashan Devils. Of course, you can't do that anymore. So I'm surprised to see a double Strike Squad build. But you know what? I feel like it could still be pretty good. Certainly the range damage is going to put a lot of pressure on any scouts that they run into, since the scouts also will really just not really be able to fight the strike squads that effectively. They'll really need something else to draw the attention of the strike squad while they kind of just add their damage on from behind. Either they'll really need the Force Commander or the Tax to take the damage or tank the damage of the strike squad. That being said, however, I'm pretty sure Assault Space Marines will at least beat a single Strike Squad. I don't know how well they'll do against two Strike Squads in melee. So, I mean, the double Strike Squad's definitely very durable. Gives him a decent amount of ranged firepower, as well as definitely giving him some potential melee ability. And Adila might want to consider getting shotguns, however, he seems content to not get shotguns for the moment. He does have a power sword on his Force Commander. That actually has the potential to bleed models off of these strike squads. So far, still not a single strike squad model has been killed. However, models for other squads have definitely been killed. It looks like a tactical Marine went down, and so far, still not a strike... Oh, actually, there we go. Diomedes did get a strike squad, or a strike squad member. And we also have a Purgation out for Mathis. So this is a lot of power armor coming out of Mathis, and both players also have not really put down much in terms of generators, and as soon as I say that, Mathis puts down a bunch of generators. And Adila could also afford to put down generators, I think. But yeah, a lot of power armor out of Mathis, and I mean, of course, he's playing as a power armor race, but generally I also feel that usually for Grey Knights, we generally see a lot more... We see more Stormtroopers than we're currently seeing out of Mathis. Usually we see at least 2 Stormtroopers, and triple stormtroopers is actually pretty common. And I think there are good reasons for that. Stormtroopers are cheap. You can put a lot of them out on the field, and that's just a pretty good amount of range DPS coming out on the field just because you have a lot of stormtroopers, a lot of ranged units. You also get, if you upgrade to the Sergeant, there's your detection. They'll go a little bit faster, so that helps you with map control. And by go a little bit faster, I mean the Sergeant actually gives them a speed buff of 0.5, but it's actually pretty nice. It also gives you more repair support for if you go into Tier 2 and you want to get out a Grey Knight Dreadnought, which used to be a very common play, although I feel like not as often these days. That might be because the other options, I think, were made a little bit better. The Purifiers, the Librarian, and of course we now have the Vindicare Assassin, which is an AV answer, although still, of course, you need to be careful. In the current version, you can lose... You can cause the game to crash by buying the Vindicare Assassin Infiltration upgrade, which is kind of really sad because that would be a very useful upgrade otherwise. But Adila has somehow still not really bought much in terms of generators. I'm wondering where all of his resources are going, where he spent all of his requisition. Because I feel like, not just I feel, but well, I was going to say he pretty much got a lighter build than Mathis, but he's really invested heavily into his Force Commander. So Diomedes right now is going to be very, very tough. He does have a Power Sword, Artificer, and the Iron Halo, so he's going to be much tankier. He's going to have an extra 600 hit points courtesy of the Iron Halo. Well, in part because he also has the Artificer armor, which also synergizes pretty well with the Iron Halo because he gets an extra 20 points of energy, which is basically an extra 100 hit points when you get the Iron Halo. Does have the Power Sword, so he's going to be doing quite a bit more damage to the strikes as well as the purgation. And wow, we see Mathis now going for a very long build, very heavy on power armor, getting an Interceptor squad to top it all off. And I mean, we see the Force Commander right here just knocking things over. Still has not managed to bleed a model. Even with that Power Sword, he's not bleeding many models. But I mean, we see that he's already been in this engagement for a very long time. And he's only just now starting to lose actual health, because he spent so much time just taking damage to that energy shield. And he finally gets a Strike Squad model. I think Mathis really pushing his luck right there, keeping those Strike Squads in there as long as he could. And Adila actually being very bold, tries to get a cap off right here. But if he might even want to know this, but I don't think he can, because otherwise, I mean, Mathis is just going to get that back fairly quickly, and he lost 2 TAC models in the process. I don't know if that was entirely worth it. Certainly very bold. But we've now got sniper scouts. No sniper rifles on these scouts, but they do have sergeants. So potential grenades on both of them, which a little surprising to see that particular upgrade. Tries to throw a grenade as a melee counter against the Interceptors and tries another one. This one goes a little bit better for him, but still not that great actually. And now he's losing models. I don't know if those grenades were the best choice, and it's not like he has anything to detect either. They'll just be doing slightly a bit more amount of range damage. So I don't know if I like that particular upgrade. Adila is definitely a better player than me, so maybe he knows what's up, and it'll turn out to be the game-changing move. Flamers on the tax. Of course, they did that. It was kind of like an opportunity bash, but we still see those 2 Battle Brothers laying down on the ground in that push. So Mathis actually going to Tier 2, despite apparently spending more. A little bit hard for me to crunch numbers for these, or for all the warrior upgrades that Adila got. I don't remember all the exact costs for those upgrades. But I mean, they're all warrior upgrades, so probably each one of them is about 100 power. I mean, not 100 power, that would be ridiculous. Each one of them is about 100 requisition, and then probably 20 to 25 power. I don't think any one of them is 30 power. So we are actually talking about 300 requisition and I'd say 60 to 80 power spent on the Force Commander. I mean, that's essentially the cost of like a Razorback. So really a lot invested to that Force Commander, so he really did spend a lot on him. Grenade in retreat, a little bit early, I think. Yeah, just slightly early. Otherwise, that could have been a really juicy grenade. Probably would have taken out at least 1 model, if not 2. I don't think it would have taken out the entire squad, although who knows. All right, Adila going for a back cap on Mathis's natural VP, 397 to 326. Not too far. Mathis isn't too far ahead in terms of VPs. And this Force Commander I actually think is doing pretty well. He's really got some incredible staying power with that Iron Halo, and he also has that Power Sword to really help him do more damage than he would with just a regular Chainsword. And certainly this is a matchup where that Power Sword would actually count, actually really be a big buff, even just for the damage, not just for the damage buff you get to your allied units. But Force Commander is almost level 2 in spite of everything. Brother Captain about halfway to level 2. But everything else is still pretty comfortably level 1, it appears, yes. Assault Marines really need to get out of that fight with both the Bro Captain and the Strike Squad right there. They get knocked down, lose 1 model, probably going to lose 2 to be honest. I think they'll be lucky to get out of there. And we have, you know what, we have an opportunity from this Strike Squad right here. No, actually they were, I thought the Interceptors or the Assault Marines, however, we're going to go into the path of the Strike Squad, but they just had a kind of a weird retreat path just because of all the kind of map features on this map. Definitely something interesting about this map that can also potentially create some dangerous situations with certain retreat paths. Anyway, Tax are force meleeing the strikes, the Purgation, and the Tax will definitely win that fight, but we also have the Interceptors here to support. We are in Tier 2 for Mathis, so he does have a Justicar upgraded on his Interceptor. Has he gotten Justicars on other squads? Yeah, he's actually going for Justicars all around on the Strike Squad. He's getting it on this Strike Squad. Purgation have no Justicar. No Sergeant on the Stormtroopers, however, and he still has the double cap, and he's increasing his lead. However, Adila is going to get the decap off right here with these scouts. And Adila only just now going to Tier 2. Mathis actually going for all those strikes, all those Justicars could actually help Adila a bit. I think Adila might have struggled a little bit more if Mathis really decided to make his first purchase in Tier 2 a Dreadnought. Or, I mean, to be honest, even getting any vehicle, so like getting a Rhino and then immediately upgrading it to vehicle armor. Since Adila being behind in tech does mean that it'll be some time before he can get some AV, although he's actually just about to get to Tier 2, and of course, Space Marine having pretty good transitional AV since he can always just switch out that Flamer for a missile launcher, as well as get a Melt-A-Bomb on the Assault Marine for a relatively low cost. I mean, if you think about that cost of getting both the Melt-A-Bomb and the TAC missile launcher, that's only slightly more than 100 requisition, and then the power cost is about 60. Which, if you think about it, just certain other races might more often need to get an entirely new unit out to be able to effectively deal with the vehicle. And then if they're getting out an entirely new unit, they're spending anywhere between 300 to 500 requisition. Anyway, just all these Grey Knights right here, just bashing generators, just with this huge melee force of double strike squads, interceptors here as well. The strike squads getting out of there with most of their models. Ooh, missed opportunity not to throw a grenade right there. So many squads he could have hit with that grenade. Could have done so much. I think now he will go for the grenade right here. He's positioning his scouts. He doesn't appear to be going for it, though. So, unfortunately, no grenade attempts by Adila. And, I mean, he definitely had a lot of opportunities right there. Could have taken out quite a few models with some grenade attempts. Ooh. Scouts right here getting slowed by these Purgations. And they do use the shotgun blast, but, I mean, they're still just going to lose that fight. Even if they get into melee, they're not going to win again in melee against the Purgation. Stormtroopers are now getting roasted by some Tactical Marines. They are not going to win that fight, and they really just need to get out of there. What is happening right here? Oh, man, they just kind of derped. And, I mean, if Adila had the presence of mind to just force melee right then and there, he might have even gotten, like, 2 models. All right, but Tax now trying to bash generators, but the Justicars, the Interceptors, rather, are just going to come out here, teleport. Yeah, I knew it. And this is actually really, really bad for the Tactical Marines. Probably at least 1 model going to go down, maybe 2. Strike squads are also chasing. And this is more or less a full-on melee build. Well, it's not full-on, but it's certainly a lot of melee out of Mathis. I wonder if he's also going to get the Nemesis focus on any of his squads. So perhaps because of just the amount of melee we're seeing out of Mathis, Adila has switched to the Thunderhammer as a way of countering all that melee. And I mean, we do see this, just that he had gotten that power sword, and now he ends up switching to the Thunder Hammer. I mean, I feel like if Mathis had gotten a Dreadnought instead, we would have seen the Force Commander switch to the... And there's a drop pod just to kind of knock things over, I guess. He'll also be able to reinforce here. But yeah, if Mathis had gotten a Dreadnought, Adila probably would have switched to the Power Fist. So I don't know about that drop pod. I don't know if he just tried to use it to like knock things over, but it wasn't really going to work out in terms of reinforcing the Assault Marines. Because, I mean, all of these units right here, I think there are just too many strikes for a single squad of Assault Marines to deal with, even if they were getting reinforcements. The Force Commander really is tanking a lot, though. And I don't know what these scouts are doing, just running into things. Grenade combo with the shotgun actually does quite well against the Purgation. Now the Purgation in a huge amount of trouble, but I don't think they're going to die. Scouts, unfortunately, just really don't do much melee damage on retreat at all, but, I mean, just 3 Purgation models killed right there with that shotgun blast to grenade combo. Pretty nice play by Adila. What has Adila been spending his resources on? He still hasn't gotten anything out in tier 3 aside from really war gears. He hasn't gotten any squads. He did get a sergeant. He switched to a plasma gun, and he got the Thunder Hammer. And I think he also got his shotguns in tier 2 as well. But I mean, Adila's I feel like he's been running pretty behind in tech all game. He hasn't had a whole lot of power, I think. He's definitely got his generators bashed a lot by Mathis. And completely even VPs. Just kidding. Mathis takes the lead because he has the double cap. We see another grenade attempt. Really wanting to use those grenades. We also have a tactical Marine Sergeant. So, I mean, Adila has really been fighting with the same 4 squads that he's had in tier 1, but he's just been upgrading them. I would actually really like him to see him get a new unit. Assault Marines do have For the Emperor activated on them, but they do jump out of there before losing any models. And I think they should retreat at this point so that they don't actually lose models. Certainly a lot of potential ranged focus fire coming out of Adila that he can use to deal with the Bro Captain. He does have now a squad of level 2 tax, and in spite of what I said before about units not leveling in this matchup, he's got a squad of tax that's more than halfway to level 3. And, you know, at this point, I think we are seeing some leveling. And, I mean, I said that the models don't die much, so they don't level much. But when they do die, those are expensive models, so they provide much more experience than puny guardsmen. In fact, we've got level 2 Purgation, level 2 Strike, another level 2 Strike, only a level 1 Stormtrooper, level 2 Interceptors. So everything for Mathis is at level 2. Adila, on the other hand, he's got level 2 Scouts. He's got level 2 everything, even a level 2 Force Commander. So the squads have been leveling decently well. A little surprised, well, maybe not surprised to see both commanders are only at level 2. Just kidding, now the Force Commander's at level 3. God. Alright, Force Commander needs to get out of there. I don't know what he's doing at the moment. Yeah, he's just going to get overwhelmed by melee. Battlecry is on cooldown, and he does not have the energy for either the shield or Battlecry. But Mathis, I didn't point out his war gear upgrades. He does have the Nemesis 4 Sword and the Blessed Aegis. The Nemesis 4 Sword is definitely by far the weakest weapon upgrade that he has, just in terms of the actual damage. But you definitely still see that upgrade a lot. People get it. They like it. It improves his We Are the Hammer ability. I'm not even sure exactly how it improves it, but it improves it. And it gives him 40 DPS power melee, which, I mean, it's not bad. But, I mean, you could be getting a lot more damage out of the other Bro Captain weapons. Of course, the roughly 80 DPS power melee halberd with Splash. You get the Demon Hammer, which has, I believe, 100 DPS regular melee with the Disruption ability. And then, of course, there's that Nemesis Warding Staff, which is about 80 DPS. I believe it's regular melee. And you, of course, get that Defensive Ward ability. Just a defensive benefit, a damage reduction that you can put on one of your squads. Mathis, I mean, look at the tech difference. Mathis well into tier 3, almost has enough to get either Terminators or Paladins or a Land Raider Crusader. I mean, to be honest, at this point, any single one of those would be very, very powerful and be very, very effective against Adila. It doesn't even really matter which one. He could even use an orbital bombardment as well. Force Commander going in against a bunch of stuff. Ooh, but you know what? I think that Strike Squad ability actually drains energy. And I think that's where we see the Force Commander. Yeah, he did not activate Battle Cry. He lost a bunch of energy to the Strike Squad ability, so that's a very good use. And I forget what the ability is. I mean, I forget what it's called, or perhaps I never even knew. I'm not very well versed in the names of the Grey Knight abilities since I've really never spent much time playing Grey Knights. But I do know that they have an ability. It does some damage and also drains energy and also seems to have a little bit of a slow effect. And that's ending up being very, very effective against the Force Commander to drain the energy from that Iron Halo. Meanwhile, over here we have Assault Marines. There's still this drop pod over here. Mathis could always just destroy it, probably get some free experience and free red. And I think he used that ability, yes, and it's definitely draining their energy. That's also why we see those purple hexagons around them to indicate that their energy has been drained. That ability is ending up being very, very powerful, and Mathis is really putting it to good effect, and I feel like I almost wonder, ooh, but Stormtroopers go down for Mathis, he just loses track of things. That ability is really proving to be quite effective. He almost seems to be using it very purposefully, and as if he's really reasoned this out and really thought about this, because he's using the Strike Squad ability. He's using it to drain the energy of the Force Commander, and then the Force Commander can't use that Iron Halo or Battle Cry, and he's becoming a lot less tanky and also less able to counter-initiate against melee units or disrupt melee units. He's also using it against the Assault Space Marines, and that means that they can't use their jump or Merciless Strike. So that ability is really, really working out very well. We're actually seeing a lot of leveled squads right now. I think some of these squads are now level 3. Yep, level 3 scouts. I think that part of that came from wiping those Stormtroopers that I don't know what they were doing, but Mathis, meanwhile, now choosing to actually get Paladins out on the field. So Paladins not going to be as effective against the units currently as Grey Knight Terminators would be, but he might just be getting that kind of like as insurance. He might not know exactly what Adila has up his sleeve, if Adila is planning to get a vehicle, and of course the Paladins are definitely the more versatile choice because they are much better against vehicles doing heavy melee instead of power melee. Assault Marines jumping in, and we do see, I think, Tactical Marines that have activated They Shall Know No Fear, still getting knocked back, however, and a lot of models are definitely dying in this engagement. Strike Squad models going down. One Strike Squad in particular in a lot of danger, especially grenade attempt. Adila throws a grenade, and this time he gets it and wipes the Strike Squad outright. There we go. Finally, I've been waiting for that for much of the game. Scouts, however, now in a huge amount of trouble themselves, and they just might go down. Actually, not though. And we see an Incinerator upgrade on the Paladins, and I've heard that the Incinerator upgrade for the Paladins is actually very good, whereas the Psy Cannon upgrade for them is actually not good for some reason, and almost not intentionally. But the Force Commander now level 4, and yet at the same time I feel like he's not doing that well, because he's getting his energy drained a lot, and now he's going to be running into squads that he can't even disrupt. But the Bro Captain also has upgraded to the Purified Blades. I feel like this can actually be a good upgrade. I mean, the few times I've played Grey Knights I've used this upgrade, but, well, not enough. But either way, burns 15 energy. You know what? I actually feel that's another great choice that's going to help him again with the Force Commander. So a lot of great choices by Mathis right here. I think we're seeing a lot of very smart choices. It seems like he's really put some time into figuring Grey Knights out. But yeah, I mean, it burns 15 energy, which is great for dealing with the Force Commander. And then you get a passive 15% chance to knock back units, which is just great for potentially knocking back units. But Bro Captain level 3, Still rocking the Nemesis Force Sword and the Blessed Aegis. Actually, I actually would like to see him get a different weapon upgrade. But we see something called in right here. Probably Space Marine Terminators. Probably Assault Terminators at that. So Adila somehow really was behind in tech all game. But, I mean, I guess at some point, Mathis got... Oh, my God! 3 models just went down there. Well, actually, I think 4. But yeah, I think those were all Interceptor models. A Justicar and 2 Interceptor models. So finally, Adila is making good... Wow, that Assault Marine jump came a little late and in the wrong place. Finally, Adila is really making good on those Scout Grenades. He had some missed opportunities early on, but really making good on it at this point. Adila, meanwhile, now upgrades to the Lightning Claws. He's also got 4 of the Emperor activated on his Terminators, but a little late, I think. He needs to get the Force Commander out of there or he will get wiped. Mathis, meanwhile, floating a huge amount of red. Oh no, Adila is going to lose his Assault Marines if he just leaves them in there too long. Lost 2 Assault Marine models, down to just 1 model. So, close call, and that means Adila is going to have to reinforce that. He does not even have that many resources to reinforce. He's got some fairly heavy upkeep as well. He's only got an income of 222 requisition. Mathis has less or fewer. No, less. Less is the correct. He did, of course, lose an entire strike squad, however, to a grenade. He has not yet bothered to replace any stormtroopers. And, I mean, at this point, he doesn't really need to. And I feel like I kind of like that choice. He chose to get out some kind of big Tier 3 unit instead of replacing his stormtroopers. And I think that also made going for some kind of Terminator, either the Paladins or the Grey Knight Terminators, a better play than going for the Land Raider Crusader. However, at this point, I actually feel like a Land Raider Crusader could be a good choice. He's already got the Terminators. He can really throw in the Land Raider Crusader to make things even crazier, as well as throw on a vehicle for Adila to have to deal with, especially at a time where he already switched out the Thunder Hammers on the Terminators for the Lightning Claws, so they won't be as effective against something like a Land Raider Crusader. Additionally, Mathis has so much red that he could do both a Land Raider Crusader and an Orbital Bombardment. Ooh, and the Bro Captain goes down, so that's actually going to set him back a little bit. And he's actually choosing to get a squad of Grey Knight Terminators instead. And if he's going to do this, I want to see him start using the Orbital Bombardment, because he's at the point where he'll use one, and probably as soon as after he uses that one, he'll have enough red to use another one. And he'll just have to wait for the cooldown to go, and he'll be able to use 2 Orbital Bombardments in relatively quick succession. Grenade goes into those strikes, but this time Mathis is pretty wise to Adila's tricks, and he actually just walks his strike squads away from that grenade. But Adila now, I feel like, idling a little bit. He's just shooting at the node with his Tactical Marines. Force Commander doing nothing. Assault Terminators doing nothing, because everything is happening over here, and this is where he's paying. This is where he has his attention. Looks like he doesn't have any grenades left to use on those strike squads in retreat. Bro Captain, meanwhile, still down from Mathis. I'm guessing we'll just see him buy the Terminators and then buy back the Bro Captain at some point. Why do Paladins... Oh, I was going to say, it says level 1, but they aren't gaining any experience, so they can't actually level. I thought they were going to be able to level. And, you know, maybe Adila wasn't moving around with his Force Commander or his Terminators because he just wanted them here. But he actually switched out the Iron Halo for the Sacred Standard, and I think that's a good switch. Because, I mean, at this point, between the Strike Squad and the Bro Captain, that Iron Halo was actually really not benefiting him anymore at some point. He got it, it was doing well for him in Tier 1, and then Mathis just really got some things that he could use to deal with that Iron Halo. Just between the Strike Squad and the Bro Captain, the Iron Halo was becoming more of a liability to Adila than an asset. He was just letting his energy get drained, and he wasn't actually really doing anything about it. So he switched out the Sacred Standard. Powerful Tier 3 War Gear, gives a 25% damage increase in an area around the Force Commander, and if he dies, it becomes a 40% damage increase. The Space Marine Terminators now in a huge amount of trouble, must have already used their teleport. I think we're going to want to see, well, I was going to say Scout Shotgun Blast, at least stop the Interceptors, and then we only have the Grey Knight Terminators and the Paladins chasing, but I think that's going to be it for the Assault Terminators, and in fact it is. The Scouts also, Adila not paying attention to them as well. Lucky to get them out of there alive. Lucky they have melee resist. Adila now looking... now in a bit of a tough position. He's got the VP lead. He's doing back capping. He's got his Force Commander over here right here, but he does not really have anything that he can use to adequately deal with right now either these Grey Knight Terminators or these Paladins. In fact, yet again, he's got that build that he's had since Tier 1, and I mean, as much as I said things before, now we have levels on everything. Everything is leveled all the way pretty much. So maybe I was wrong. Maybe just that comment was wrong, because I mean, they didn't lose that many models early on, but as the game went on, things got more powerful. They got more powerful squads, more weapons, more upgrades, and then they are actually capable of killing each other. And then again, when you lose those high-value models, they give a lot more experience than guardsmen or anything else. So, I mean, now we've got pretty much everything leveled quite a bit. Level 5 heroes in both cases. We've got level 3 strikes, level 4 purgation, level 3 interceptors. Paladins can't level. Level 3 scouts, level 4 tax, level 4 scouts, and level 3 assault marines. So everything is leveled quite a bit. I mean, level 4 scouts have 1,018 health. That's quite a health buff, considering they have 420 out of the gate, 670 at level 1 with the sergeant. Tax, meanwhile, are at 1,397, or we could just say 1,400. Force Commander right here actually switches back to the Iron Halo. I'm really surprised to see that now. I was just saying, I felt like the Sacred Standard was such a great idea, but I guess part of what's also happening is that he's now using his Force Commander as a back-capping unit. He's going around with the Force Commander, not really keeping the Force Commander with his squads, and to make the best out of the Iron Halo, he needs to keep it with the rest of his army. So instead, he has the Force Commander running around solo, back-capping, and if the Force Commander is going to cap, yes, the best thing would definitely be for him to have the Iron Halo. Grey Knight Terminator is getting the Liber Demonica. I believe that grants the Hammer Hand ability, which temporarily increases their melee damage, which I don't understand why you would need to temporarily increase the melee damage of a squad like Grey Knight Terminators, which already does quite a bit of damage. It's like giving Howling Banshees an ability that temporarily increases their damage, like Guide, except that's a hero-specific thing and not on the squad itself. So, at this point, though, I am a little disappointed to see Mathis not use those orbital bombardments. I mean, he's got 999 red in the bank. It just doesn't increase any further than that. He can't possibly be saving for anything because he just has so much to spend that he needs to use it. I mean, if anything, he should start using those Grey Knight Globals. He has, I believe, it's Dark... I forget what... I believe it's Dark Excommunication that prevents your opponent from using their ability. So use that. I mean, he should start using everything. He can't call down a Land Raider Crusader, but he should use an Orbital and use Dark Excommunication. He also has Mind Blades, which I forget what that does exactly. Oh no, Assault Marine's going down for Adila. The Mind Blades Global, I believe that actually increases damage for something. Might even increase melee damage or anything damage. But Predator now out for Adila. This is an interesting choice. Definitely going to do some decent burst damage. He might actually want the Las Cannon if he wants the best he can get out against these Paladins and the Grey Knight Terminators. Did upgrade it to extra armor to give it survivability, and Adila, in spite of everything, is managing to maintain the lead in this game. He's got the lead in VPs. He's actually about to get a double cap because he's got his tax capping. He might just have just that good high-level awareness of map control. And I feel like Mathis, I was saying before, it seems like there were definitely some choices he made that made it seem like he's really thought about how to play Grey Knights and made some really reasoned choices about war gears and just the things he's been using. I think the main gap in that is that he's just not using globals at all. And I mean, I don't even know how good some of those globals are, but they're there and he can use them and they can definitely help. And I mean, look at this. Mathis is still running around. He did manage to force Adila off the top, and now he's getting the VP down here. But then we also have Adila backcapping. And I guess Adila maybe just at a point where he's feeling like he's just not winning on fighting, and he's just doing what he needs to do in terms of map control to try to take the game that way. Now, this is unfortunately the danger of this Predator. He's got these Paladins are right here, and I feel like he can't really do a whole lot to stop those Paladins. He doesn't really have a way of controlling them. He almost lost the Predator because the Purgation were also in a very good position to intercept the Predator, and I think he was just lucky to get it out of there alive. This is also going to hurt Adila a bit because either he's going to have the Predator off the field entirely, or he's going to have the Predator and the Scouts off the field so that the Scouts can repair the Predator. Force Commander's chasing the Terminators. Actually feel he should go back up here, get the Purgation off the point instead of chasing the Terminators into base. I mean, it's nice that he got one Terminator model, but he's giving a double cap back to Mathis. I actually feel that the Force Commander should have gone north a bit here to try to scare those Purgation squads off the point. Ooh, and Scouts are going for a back cap right here. No, that's not going to happen. So at this point, it's definitely a question of what can Adila do to put himself back in this game? It looks like he just spent a lot of resources, and yes, I knew it, to get another Terminator squad. Very nice to call them in, use the line of sight that you get from, I actually don't know what I'm talking about. Maybe he just called them in using the line of sight from something, but he called Terminators in on the field, just in a position where he could capture the point. And that puts a lot of pressure on Mathis. Mathis does not have a lot of time, even though he does have the better army overall. Maybe not so much now with the Predator getting repairs. Actually, I still feel like he's got the better army. And the Terminators are going to get the capture off, but they are in a lot of trouble right now, I would say. The Grey Knight Terminators are right here. Terminators teleport, but now they are without a teleport, and the Grey Knight Terminators are chasing after them. This is actually really, really bad. I think this could be another squad of dead Assault Terminators. And Adila might even be willing to sacrifice. He's actually distracting the Grey Knight Terminators right here while he's fighting off the Strike Squad off the point. And here we go with the Predator support as well. And yeah, I mean, that's going to be another squad of dead Assault Terminators. But Adila is trying to use the lives of those Terminators to buy time for the units that are going to have him capture the point. And he's using that Force Commander again with the Iron Halo now to just get a capture off. And Mathis again really does not have much time. So Terminators are dead again. Adila can't even buy any new units at this point. I don't know if the Force Commander is going to survive this engagement, but wow, Mathis actually retreats out of there. I actually feel that was the wrong choice. Well, I mean, it's a tough call. I feel like he should have taken the risk of maybe taking out the Force Commander. They still had 700 health, and the Force Commander, meanwhile, only had about 300. Actually, well, maybe another 400 with that Iron Halo. Although they also wouldn't be doing a whole lot of damage with only 2 of their halberds, I think. But man, Mathis actually floating quite a bit, both in red as well as resources. And wow, the Force Commander right here, just this play from Adila, really being sneaky all game long. Now, Mathis, well, it's still, Mathis is getting the cap up here. I think part of what Mathis really should do, he's got the red, use the orbital bombardment to just seal the deal, or just to stall, buy time, keep Adila busy. Drain his reinforcement costs. And I mean, he's backing off now. He could even use the orbital bombardment now just to keep these units off and away from the point, scare Adila off. But meanwhile, he's just moving his army away from where he had just captured the point. And it's amazing the way Mathis is pretty much winning most of the engagements, winning on fighting, but Adila is really being very sneaky with map control, and he's managing to really stay in the game this way. And he still has the VP lead, and he's still putting pressure on Mathis and draining Mathis's VPs. He's just got the Force Commander over here. He might just be standing the Force Commander over here to try to, like, just leave the Force Commander in a position where hopefully he thinks Mathis can't see, although now he can because he's walking by the power node. Mathis needs to do something, though. And I mean, look at this again. I mean, the Force Commander is just going to go for the point. He's at least going to get the decap off. The Strike Squad will not be able to rent the decap. And now Adila is here also with infiltrated scouts. We now have a Vindicare Assassin out for Mathis. And and Adila gets the decap off, but he's going to lose the Force Commander in the process. Will he? Yes, he should. I mean, kind of a little bit missed from from Mathis to not force melee, but he managed to get the kill anyway. Scouts, unfortunately, going to pay for this cap with their lives. Do not even get the cap, but it's still a single cap for Adila. And Mathis now going for the cap again. Mathis also being very slow right here on his micro, not getting his squads on the point. Wow, this is going to be a very, very close call. We now have double Predators out for Adila, but we also have a Vindicator Assassin out, and again, Mathis has not used any red whatsoever yet. Mathis at least manages to even it out. Oh my god, it's just amazing how much Adila is managing to stay in this game. And, I mean, I think what he's even going to do, he's just going to stand these scouts here, maybe wait for the strike squads. He might even go for the decap on this, even with those strike squads just right there. Predators right in here. Unfortunately, they're having a little trouble driving around. The scouts actually just start decapping and Mathis can't even see, so he's not even doing anything. I think he needs to... he probably doesn't even have his attention right here, and... Huh. You know what? That's really, really sad. Oh, man, that's going to be terrible. Oh, man. So Mathis just bought Infiltration on his Vindicator Assassin, and I think that caused a sync error that ended the game prematurely, and we don't even have a real winner here. But it does look like Adila was about to take it. What a crazy game. A very sad and anticlimactic ending, though. Nevertheless, hope you enjoyed it. Have a good night.